Hello, welcome to another episode of Asexualized, My Asexual Life. This is the place to be for education about asexuality and all things asexual. I share my own asexual life journey in order to help you in yours. If you haven't already subscribed to this channel, please hit that great big subscribe button now. Hit that bell icon so you get notified of every time I go live like now or post a new video. And if you didn't know who I am Sandra Bellamy, author of Asexual Perspectives, 47 Asexual Stories book. And I'm the founder of asexualise.com and Asexualise Academy, which is the world's first online training centre and school for asexuals and asexuality. Welcome to tonight's episode, where I want to talk to you about asexual versus sexual and the different meanings in terms of relationships and dating between what they say. As you like this content, please give it a thumbs up as we go along. So if you watched yesterday's episode, you might have known, hello Michael, you've come exactly the right time. If you watched yesterday's episode, you might have known that I was in touch with two people, both foreign, one from Portugal who's asexual and actually lives in the UK. He's foreign, he's 22, he seems a really nice guy, and we were messaging till the early hours of this morning. So that was really, really nice. And he said he'd like to be friends with me, so that's really good. I'm really happy about that. And then on ASAP, yesterday, I showed you that they've got a new option that allows a person to say if they're heterosexual on there. So it's got a heterosexual option. So I said, really, to be fair, you know, if we go on sexual dating sites, then to be fair, there's no reason really why sexuals can't go on asexual dating sites. However, obviously from a personal point of view, sex repulsed, I find it a bit uncomfortable in the sense that obviously I don't want to be having people approach me for sex or anything like that, or really have that intention. But fair is fair, and I said it would be much better that at least they could say they're sexual on there, rather than these people a lot of the time putting confused, and really they're sexual and not asexual, and they're using confused as a term because there's nothing else to put on there, no other options. So now they got options. So the guy I met with ASAP, he is 33, so he's older and lives in Spain. But I have to say, he's really nice too. He was messaging me loads yesterday, and I couldn't believe it. He was messaging me on ASAP, and then he said, have you got somewhere else we can talk? Because it's costing me a lot of money, because he's using Google Translate for me now. And I just think that's so sweet of him. And to be honest, he seems like, although it says heterosexual in his profile, he seems more asexual than some of the people on there that are saying they're confused and really sexual. So I'm like, it'd be very ironic if he was actually confused and was actually asexual, not heterosexual. And yet the people who are actual heterosexual are putting confused when really they're heterosexual, if you know what I mean, not asexual. So I just thought that'd be quite an ironic situation, because a lot of the hobbies and interests he has are very sort of asexual hobbies and interests. And the way he speaks to me is not sexual at all, the way he messages me. And the first thing he did when we got on, he said, he wants to talk to me from somewhere else because it's cost him a fortune on Google Translate through the ACE app. So basically, and to be on there, so I said, I mean, it's free for me to go on Google, go on ACE app. It's free for everyone, as far as I knew. But Google, but obviously maybe it's different in some other countries. I don't know. Or maybe he hasn't got allowance on his phone, because I've got like enough allowance on my phone with Wi-Fi, so maybe he meant that. So anyway, we connected on Facebook, and he's there messaging me straight away. He's like, trying to get me to watch this other thing with him. And I realise it's a place where you can watch like YouTube videos together and talk and chat. What makes something an asexual hobby or interest? I'll come on to that, Michael, in a minute. So of course they can be shared. Of course asexuals and sexuals can have the same hobbies or interests. It's just that there tends to be patterns of behaviour about the way they list things that is just quite I just notice patterns of behaviour of what people put in their bios when they're asexual, so it's just quite funny. But anyway, going back to what I was saying, that this guy connected with me on Facebook, and straight away he wanted to watch videos with me and invited me to watch these videos with him so we can sit there and chat together and watch like videos together. And I found that a bit strange, as in I've just met you, but I mean we got on so well, so I thought it was really nice as well. But I was a bit like apprehensive because I didn't know what was going on, and also I already had the other people chatting to me. So I had the guy from Portugal who's definitely asexual, he was chatting to me. We're having a lovely conversation by Facebook Messenger. And I also had a asexual friend who I've been friends with online for ages, lives in another country. He was messaging me, and then I had another asexual friend come on and ask me how it was. So I was like having multiple conversations. I was like speaking to like messaging 3 people at once all the time. So I couldn't really watch movies with them anyway. So I realised I'd have to schedule that in. But it was really nice. And at the end of the conversation, the guy who said he's heterosexual but on the asexual dating app, who's from Spain, who seems really nice, he seems really sweet. He goes, it's been an absolute pleasure talking to you, and I hope to talk to you again soon. It's really nice. And the guy who actually lives in the UK who's asexual, he said, I'd like to be friends, hoping we can be friends, because he said I haven't really got any friends in the UK because he's only lived here since last year. So he said they're more acquaintances, so I hope we can be friends. So I thought it was really good. So far I've had both good interactions with both of these guys, but the sexual heterosexual guy hasn't given me any feeling like he's sexual. The only difference that's been that might be an indicator he's sexual is the fact that he's quickly to move off ASAP and into another message app, because I tend to find that asexuals, in the majority of asexuals, they tend to stick more to the app for a bit of like safety if they just met someone, if you know what I mean. But but I like to move off there a bit quicker sometimes, because to be honest, Facebook is a lot easier for me to message on than ASAP, because ASAP requires me going into it. Facebook like pops up all the time with the messages, so I kind of like used to it. So anyway, so Michael asked me, so what are asexual hobbies and interests? So when people write their bio and they're asexual, they usually put a list of things, and it's often got gaming in it, anime. I don't know how you pronounce it. Is it anime? Anime? Anime. It's that like Japanese sort of cartoon stuff, isn't it? So I know what it is, but I can't pronounce it because I don't do gaming and I'm not really into that type of like Japanese stuff. But anyway, and he likes video games, and we're going to the movies, and it's just like I see a lot of asexuals that put in their profile about like video games, anime, as it pronounced enemy. I don't know how it's pronounced. And it was movies. It's a succession of things. And what else did he put? And his profile picture is quite an innocent one. It's kind of like a inquiring one. And his job's really sweet as well. He works with Down syndrome people. He's done that for 3 years, so that's really nice. But yeah, he likes travel as well, and he likes watching videos and stuff. Enemy, is it? Yeah. So I just and his profile picture's like very innocent, if you know what I mean. But it's the way he's been talking to me as well. Like, he hasn't said any sexual stuff, any physical stuff, nothing to do with kissing, nothing to do with relationships whatsoever. He's just like hanging out with me. So in this video I was going to talk to you about asexual versus sexual, different meanings. So obviously a lot of the time it's very difficult when I'm a. Is that? I thought it's anime, because it's got an E on the end. Or anime. Anime. Oh, I'm useless at pronouncing that, aren't I? You know what I mean. It's just easier to spell it out. So in this video, I just wanted to say about sexual versus asexual. So it's very difficult, obviously, if a lot of sexuals are coming more and more onto ASAP, which is a asexual social networking app and dating app. It's kind of hard because, like, different things have different meanings. So, for example, if an asexual says, oh yeah, it'd be great if you could come over and watch movies in my home, a sexual person would probably take that usually to mean, yes, come on in my home because I want to have sex with you. Do you see what I mean? So this is when asexual and sexual sort of realms collide, and they can be 2 different meanings for different things. So this is when it can get like with an asexual person, you're kind of like hanging out, like be best friends, mates together, chatting and everything like that. With a sexual person, the intention will be kind of more geared towards, when are we going to have sex? Do you see what I mean? This is in the sort of generalization, stereotypical type of thing. I mean, obviously there are people that are different, you know, not everyone's the same. Not every sexual person is lusting after sex. You know, I have a sexual friend who I don't see very often, who lives in London. He's not like that at all. So there are exceptions to the rule. But, you know, when you're trying to master online dating, it can be difficult. Like I said, this guy from Spain, he's given me no sexual inclinations. The only thing I know is that he's quite quick to talk to me off, and that's just because he said he was costing a lot of money, and he was being very sweet. Asexuals tend to be very sweet, and that's why this guy makes me feel safe with him, because he's very sweet. He's being very sweet. You know, he sent me a little sticker of a bird. You know, like, it's sweet and innocent stuff. So in some sexuals can be a lot less sweet and innocent. Like asexuals are like cute, cuddly stuff. Sexuals will like pictures with sexual stuff like kissing and so I have a asexual, well, I have a guy who said he was asexual, a friend, but I don't believe he wasn't. He used to send me these pictures. He used to talk to me about kissing and stuff, and he used to send me these pictures. He wasn't in any asexual groups at all. He used to send me these pictures, and there was like of a man like kissing a woman's neck and stuff like that. It's like the pictures were quite raunchy, and some of it it's like these pictures you get on Facebook. Yeah, you can have you know, like they're like GIFs, GIF. You know, they're picture like little videos and stuff, but you could obviously pick from a ton of them, and he happened to pick quite a lot of the more seductive, like sexually posed ones to me. And you know, that's kind of the difference. Like some sexuals can ask you for a photograph of yourself, and they want to look at it because they want to know how sexually attractive you are, or they even might ask you for nude photographs. Whereas an asexual person, if they ever ask for a photograph, which usually they don't, you know, if you're a symbol on your social media profile, then it's quite normal for an asexual person, if they're aesthetically attracted, to want to see a picture of you, to see you're a genuine person and not a troll. That's quite normal. But there's a difference between doing that and, for example, a sexual person asking to see photographs, which, you know, if you've actually got a photograph up of yourself, and say it's like a head and shoulders shot, and they're asking you for more photographs, and they've just met you, it is a lot of the time they're seeing if they're sexually attracted to you. That's why they're asking for all the different photographs of you when they've just met you. It's not, you know, it's not what you usually ask someone first off, if you know, when you've just met them, if there's picture already there. I mean, I had a guy asking me, I said, well, you can see. I actually had an asexual, supposed asexual person ask me. I think he was asexual, I can't remember. Oh no, actually he wasn't asexual. He was on the Plenty of Fish dating site. That was right. He wasn't because that's a sexual dating site. And he, for example, asked me, he said there was a picture, my face, and he said, oh, why don't you put more pictures up on your profile? I said, because I want someone to be attracted to my face, not, you know, not my body. So sexuals are very big, much geared towards looking at not just your face but your whole body. So they want to see more pictures of your body. They might ask you for nude photographs, hi Heather, and stuff like that. So again, navigating between the asexual and sexual people in the dating world can be very different. You know, if you say, for example, oh, I'm feeling hot, you might mean because you're actually feeling sunburn if you're out in it. Whereas they might say, oh yeah, you're looking hot. Like, as in, they're attracted to you, want sex with you. Do you see what I mean? That's kind of can be quite humorous if it's written down. Like, that could be quite a asexual joke, you know, I'm feeling hot tonight because it's so warm in here. Whereas a guy like, yeah, no, I'm feeling hot because I want sex with you. Do you see what I mean? Like, you might say, I love my pussy, meaning pussycat. They might think you mean like the vaginal area. Do you see what I mean? It's all different languages. We don't think, if asexuals are not thinking about sex, we won't, if we use language, it won't be geared towards sex usually. Whereas theirs will mind and language, if they're highly sexual, will be geared more towards sex. So you know, and often sexuals, when they first start talking to you, they will start talking to you fairly quickly about intimate stuff, you know, like about kissing, cuddling, arousal. You know, some asexuals on the much more sexual end of the spectrum can do this as well. And it's kind of difficult because if you're asexual on an asexual dating site, sometimes you have to ask intimate questions up front. There's certain instances you would do it. For example, if you saw someone's profile and they were saying what they like in terms of kissing and cuddling, and they like some touching, you might then, if you like them, look at them, you might then say, well, what touching do you actually mean? Because they've implied that in their profile. You know, it's not kind of such a random thing. It's more of a calculated thing. It's more of a logical thing because you're asking what they like. So there are instances when you do that. But if but if anyone's starting off with you a conversation, it's just purely all going physical already, it's not usually a good sign. I had a person who said they were asexual on Facebook, foreign in the UK, and then when they were talking to me on video chat, clearly they weren't. It was all about, it's kind of like, in part, it was like they were trying to get to know me and what I physically need, but it's like, I've just met you. Why is sexually, physically what I need so important to you if I've only just met you and I'm only just talking to you? Do you see what I mean? And I found out when I went on his Facebook profile that he was on about being in bed with tons of women and that women are only good for one thing. So clearly he wasn't asexual, the one thing being sex. And he had a picture of a guy in a bed with like 3 women, and it was just really disgusting. So I just said, I blocked him, and he got my phone number by then. And I just like, no, I'm not interested in you. I mean, that picture was from a few years ago. I think it was 2 years ago. It's not the point, He hardly updated his Facebook. And I thought, it's just disgusting. So as well, a lot of sexuals on their Facebook will have, it was disgusting, Heather, very disgusting. And, a lot of sexuals, again, not all of them. I have to say, not every sexual's like this, okay? I have sexual friends who are not like this, but there are quite a lot of sexuals that will have scantily clad people on their Facebook page. I have a ton of them. They'll usually friend, like the highly sexual guys, for example, they will usually friend a lot of women. They will have more women friends. The ones that are heterosexual, they'll have more women friends on their Facebook than men. And the majority of the women on there will usually be in scantily clad clothing with clingy tops that stick to their boobs, pictures that are sexually posed. But, equally, a lot of guys that are actually sexual, they will take pictures of them with sexual poses and stuff like that. So they're very geared towards around sex, sexual energy, whereas asexuals are geared more towards, companionship, friendship, hanging out, being friends, enjoying hobbies and interests together, purely for hobbies and interests, not for the sake of, I really want to have sex with you. Like if you go around each other's houses as asexuals, it's more like you're hanging out as best mates, like teenagers, if you know what I mean, when you hang out and go around to each other's places with sex not being involved, but then, with sexuals, it can be like, well, come around my place, Netflix and chills actually means Netflix and have sex. That's what it means. And I've even seen this written in asexual groups, where some people saying, I didn't realise that Netflix and chills actually meant something completely different, as in come around to my place for sex. That's what they think it means. So if you are dating a sexual, you have to make it very clear to them and try and explain to them how asexuality is, and try and explain to them that if you invite them over for a movie, you really genuinely want to enjoy the movie. If you like kissing and cuddling, fine, but you have to let them know that's where it ends. Because the mindset of an asexual and sexual are completely different a lot of the time. And this is where the problem stems, Even if you get a sexual, the majority of time, even if you get a sexual who can be without sex, a lot of them, not all of them, but a lot of them will still be sexually minded. They will still, if you kiss and cuddle them a lot, they will still think it means you are more than that. So you have to be so blatant and say, look, it doesn't matter what happens. If you're asexual that doesn't want sex, that is, because some asexuals don't mind sex, but if you're asexual that don't want sex, you have to say, look, whatever happens, however much I kiss you and cuddle you, I don't want sex with you. It's never going to lead to that. So don't take that as a signal, because to sexuals look for sexual signals. It's how they're taught. It's body language. So if you're, for example, sexuals will tend to look women up and down. Guys who are into women will look at their boobs or look them up and down because they're looking for their body, because they're visualizing their body for sex. Do you see what I mean? They're sexually attracted. So it's completely different asexual mindset, and sort of the way we think and how we act is different to how a sexual person would think, act, and even perceive your behaviour. Do you see what I mean? That's why there needs to be so much more education about asexuality. That's why it's literally my mission to get asexuality recognised as a sexual orientation throughout the globe, so no asexual has to live in fear of ridicule ever again. We really need to stand our own. I know that we are part of the LGBT plus LGBT plus QIA acronym, but we also need to stand strong on our own so people really do understand the difference between asexuality and being sexual. It's two completely different mindsets. People who are sexual, whether LGBT or not, whether LGBT or just, or heterosexual, they still are sexually attracted to people. They still want sex. They still have the same type of body language, the same type of meaning behind that body language, because they're sexual at the end of the day. Whereas we are not sexually attracted to people as a general rule. Obviously they're grey areas and all that type of thing, but in general we're not sexually attracted, and we don't, or some of us have little to no interest in sexual activities, even if the attraction's low. It's a completely different mindset, and that's how mixed signals can happen. So it can be really difficult. Obviously there's different degrees of people on the sexual spectrum, so you might be lucky enough to get someone who's not so bothered about sex. They're on the sort of the low sex drive side. Sex is not that important because maybe they've done a lot of personal development work in their head and their mind. Maybe their mind's a lot more into meditation, a lot more into self-improvement, a lot more into other things. So they've kind of got their mind on much bigger things in the world than just sex. Like a lot of people that don't develop themselves and grow themselves as a person, the sex becomes a very big focus from them because it's what they've been brought up to know, to like, to do, and that's a fundamental core to their relationships usually and who they are. So someone who's like sexual but really into personal professional development and into more meditation, into more like, I don't know, sort of experiences of pleasure of the body that are non-sexual, as it were, then they've got more of a higher chance of being possibly a good prospect for an asexual person to be with. But in general, the thought patterns are very different. It can be like, if you're out for a meal somewhere and say or say you're with a sexual person and they touch you on the shoulder, it's usually because they want to feel you, because they want to feel what it's like, your body, because they like the sex. Whereas if you touch someone on the shoulder as an asexual, you might just find it a bit comforting, and it might be sort of a pleasure thing for you as well. But you're more likely to think of it as a nice comfort thing that our person's there. Whereas the sexual person will be more like, that's nice. The asexual will be more like, oh, that's really nice, They'll be like friendly. Do you see what I mean? Rather than sexual. So it can be, the asexual versus sexual sort of meaning can be very different. And this translates into body language, into what the spoken word is, into indirect meanings, thoughts and feelings. It can all be, this is where it can get very complicated. It depends really on the individuals, the individual sexual person, the individual asexual, as to how the interactions might get on. So far, I'm really happy with that guy from Spain. I mean, I don't know if I ever get to meet him in real life, offline, but he seems the type of guy, he's put in his profile, he likes travelling. So he seems the type of guy that does travel to other countries. So it's not in the realms of impossibility that he might actually come to the UK one day, because he lives in Spain, so Spain's quite easy to get to the UK from. But at the moment he's acting acting like an asexual would. So basically he hasn't given me any indication of sexual stuff. He hasn't mentioned anything about physicality, anything about touching. He hasn't asked to see any photographs of me. He's just chatting to me like a mate. Sex should be taught that it's not everything. Yes, Heather. It should be taught that it's not everything. Sex should be taught that it's not everything, and that you can love, live, and be happy without sex. And that's really the message of this channel, and the message that I want to get out there, that being sex-free, you can be happy. You can have a beautiful, beautiful life without sex. And there's no reason why every single relationship should have sex as a part of it. And I really wished that more sexuals could see the beauty of a sex-free life. I really do. Just like we have sex shoved down our throats 24/7, 365 days a year, I would kind of like to counteract that with no sex is beautiful. No sex is wonderful. No sex is fabulous. No sex is great. Do you know what I mean? I would love to counteract all that sex talk with the positives about not being involved in sex, not having sex, not needing it, not wanting it, you know? I really believe whether you're sexual or asexual, the best relationships are born from friendship. But born from friendship isn't based on sex. Born from friendship is based on a deep emotional connection where two people come to a mutual understanding with each other and they have such open and honest communication with each other. So really the foundation for a relationship is not really sexually based in terms of the reality of what's good for a relationship, but it's actually more asexually based if you look at it, because you know, if two people, even if they're both sexual, if they're not getting on in their relationship because they're falling out all the time, they're not being friends with each other, it doesn't matter how much sex they have, it's not going to patch up. It's not gonna solve the problem. It might patch it up, but it's not going to patch up the problems enough to make the relationship last. Do you see what I mean? It's just patching up the problems. So really the foundations, which is friendship, and that is the fundamental basis for all good asexual relationships, is friendship. Without friendship, a relationship cannot survive. It will become very destructive. It will become very untrusting. It'll become very closed. There'll be times when there's probably more ups and probably more downs than ups. Sorry, you know, there'll be times when things go, you know, apart from each other. So really, the asexual basics of life are actually really, I think, what should be taught as a foundation. And then if people want to add on the sex bit because they're sexually attracted, they can do if they want, if you know what I mean, rather than it being taught that sexual attraction and sex is the most fundamental core thing to relationship. I think it should be taught that no, friendship is, because that really is the foundation. That is more of an asexual way of thinking and behaving and acting than a sexual way. So in actual fact, although we're in a minority in the world, our way, I think, is a much better foundation for a long-lasting relationship than it is with the sexual attraction stuff that's pumped into us by society. Sexual attraction is all good and well for people who like it, but sometimes it just doesn't last, or if it lasts, there's other stuff that might be missing, because the initial sort of, oh, I want to jump your bones that sexuals feel that asexuals don't really feel, you know, that doesn't last unless you've got sustainability. Yeah, the pressure, it can be really intense for sex, but it's more to do with the initial passion. In sexual relationships, there's a lot of passion and a lot of how much sex you can have and different positions you can do it in and rip each other's clothes off. But if that initial physical passion starts to dwindle, or you've got nothing in common because you met at a nightclub, say, and then you've just got all this passion going on, but really you've got nothing in common, that's not going to bind you together in a long-lasting, caring, loving relationship. It's just going to have this volatility about it. Whereas you're going to love being passionate and sexual with each other, people that are sexual, and enjoy that, but you're going to be missing all the other elements of vital components to relationships. So it's going to be rocky. It's going to be up and down the whole time. And likely you will go off with someone else or won't end up staying together because the other stuff is not there. So I actually believe that asexuals have really the foundations of relationship more right, with the fact that we are much more based around friendship, companionship, and true and pure love without the sexual aspect. Sex is just one form of physical expression that some people can choose to have and do and others don't. And I honestly believe that's the way it should be taught. I believe it should be taught as like an add-on, like you can have it if you want it, if you enjoy it, if you like it. It's something that can enhance the physical senses if that appeals to you and you like it. But I don't think it should be taught as the core of relationships. And I think that's the problem with society these days. It is very much taught as a core of a relationship. It's very much taught that, yep, find someone you're sexually attracted to and then whoomph, bang, you get that person, all your problems disappear and yeah, you're having really wonderful sex. You know, that's kind of how society is, you know, and it's like the most raunchiest positions you can get in. You know, it's like the most makeup you can get to, you know, the red colour and seductive colours in makeup to enhance your sex appeal, the latest lingerie to enhance your sex appeal, which does absolutely nothing. For me personally, I don't wear that stuff. You know, and the latest sex toys, the latest pornographic movies and magazines and all that stuff that I personally hate, you know. It's like, do you know what I mean? It's very from a young age, most people are manipulated in the mind to believe that sex is a core fundamental basis for a good relationship. And I do not believe that is the case at all. I do not believe it's the case, because it won't keep you together, and it won't give you that deep, long-lasting friendship-based relationship if you don't have the friendship and core stuff there in the first place. If it's just like heat of the moment passion, yeah, those relationships can last, some of them, but mess with your head, yeah. But it's like, you know what I mean? It's not really, I think really the way an asexual relationship is formed should actually be the one that's taught in schools. I think it should be taught that friendship and companionship and mutual hobbies and interests and things in common are the foundation of a lasting relationship. And then you can explore different aspects of physical touch and senses. You know, the senses are, you know, the taste and the hearing and the touch. There's a lot of different senses. And when you love someone, you can incorporate multiple senses. You know, you can eat food together, you can feed food to each other, for example. You know, you could just stroke someone's hair, you can give them a cuddle. There's lots of different ways, you know, you could make noises. I mean, some sexuals might make sexual noises. I am asexual, but still make sexual breathing noises when I'm kissing, which is very bizarre, but there you go. It's more usually than a lot of sexuals do, which is like, ah! But it's just the way I am naturally, do you know what I mean? It's natural for me to just do that. So yeah, so, you know, there's nothing wrong with people who are sexual if they enjoy that. There's nothing wrong with people who get aroused. There's nothing wrong, you know, you are who you are. But what I'm saying is, it's just, you know, we need more education, basically, because sexual and asexual mindset is completely different. And I kind of think it's taught backwards. I kind of think that being heterosexual, obviously, is usually taught that's what should be the case for every individual, which is clearly not and never will be, because we're all different. But that's what's taught as the norm, when really I think it's more that the type of relationships we form with emotional connection, friendship, companionship, I think that should be taught first, and then the sexual aspect explored, and say, you know, this is what some people do, they enjoy it, they love it, they feel it enhances the relationship. It can be good if you feel that, but if you don't feel that and you don't want it, it's fine, because you can just stick to the the core foundation of what the basics are for a good relationship, which, you know, which is love, laughter, companionship, friendship, you know, all that type of thing. And an emotional connection, a deep emotional connection, is what is going to get you to stay bonded year after year when you're both changing and growing into different individuals, you know. That's what's going to keep you together, is understanding and compassion and caringness and chatting to each other. It's not this lust. Do you know what I mean? I mean, you can have physical chemistry as well without it being like actual sexual attraction, you know, like you can have aesthetic physical attraction, you can have like sensual attraction. So there's lots of different types of attractions you can have. Like a sexual person would just usually think there's one type of attraction, which is sexual attraction, which they usually would associate with romance as well, and aesthetic attraction. It would all be classed as sexual attraction. So they would usually think that aesthetics and romance and sex are all sexual attraction, you know, all those three attractions, sexual attraction, aesthetic and romantic, like we separate them as asexuals, but they would usually class them all together. So when someone's like, oh yeah, I'm sexually attracted to you, it usually be like they like your look aesthetically, they feel the sexual energy with you, they feel a pull towards you, they want sex with you, and therefore they would usually have some sort of emotional connection quite a lot, but not if they're an aromantic person, because obviously if they're an aromantic sexual, they lack romantic attraction as well as lack they lack romantic attraction if they're an aromantic sexual, but they still have the sexual attraction. So they can still have the sexual drive and want the sex just without any emotional feeling whatsoever towards the person, really. You know, or very little of it, you know, and they won't feel the romance and that. So, you know, everyone's different, but I think you get what I'm trying to say. And it's just a completely different way of thinking. And I just really wish that more people knew about asexuality and it was taught in schools and colleges and universities. I just really think it's a good way to be, and I think it's the foundation for a long-lasting loving relationship. And I just think asexuality deserves a lot more respect than it's given in society. It actually deserves to be looked at and thinking, gosh, you know, this is actually really good foundation for friendships and relationships. This is actually really clever stuff, you know. And instead of thinking, oh, we're a minority, like, and kind of ignoring us sometimes, I think people should take more notice of us and actually think that, you know, this asexuality is, there's a lot in this, and there's a lot of intelligent stuff, you know. So, you know, and like I said, that asexuals and sexuals think very differently. So with like, as an asexual person, I can break down all my different types of attractions, which a sexual person usually can't. A sexual person is like they're sexually attracted or they're not, basically. An asexual person, like I've got clothes attraction, romantic attraction, emotional attraction, intelligence attraction, creative attraction, spiritual attraction. You know, I've got multiple attractions that I can have for people. I personally don't experience sexual attraction. I don't experience platonic attraction either, which is very weird for an asexual person. So kind of like most people, like friends that I'm relatively close to, I can feel some romantic notion, or a lot of the time in my head, I'm a hyper romantic as well, which doesn't really help. A lot of the time in my head, I can be like, oh, well, what if I was with that person in a relationship? Would it be good? Would it not be good? And I'm kind of analytical as well. I think that's partly to do with my own personality as well, though, not just my asexuality, because I've got a very analytical brain. I tend to put my brain in situations just to try and see what it thinks and what it says. And for me, that's always been a natural sort of play out of the way my mind works. I kind of put myself like, oh, could I be with that person? No. Could I be with that person? No. Could I be with that person? No. Sometimes I ultimately have absolutely, you know, categorically knowledge that I would never want to be that person. But even then, my mind can sometimes even play tricks on me and go, oh, are you sure about that? And I'm like, yes, I'm absolutely sure. Thank you very much, Sandra. It's kind of like talking to yourself. I've talked to myself since I've been a kid, so I'm really used to talking to myself. I'm very, very self-analytical, very, very, you know, thought processing. And I think as well, I think in general, I think asexuals can tend to think about things more. I think because we're not sort of like clumped together with the rest of the world. I think some of us can be really deep thinkers, and we obviously see the world very differently. Like sexuals, I think some sexuals can see, like, I don't want to be unfair to all sexuals, because, you know, not all sexuals are like this, but I think some sexuals can be very superficial in the things, in their knowledge about the world and how people work, because they're very, you know, like, they're very how can I put it, they're very manipulated from a young age, as this is the way relationships work, and it's all about sexual attraction, lust, and sex, and getting as many sexual partners as you can, and, you know, and being the most sexually attractive you can. I think it's very, very brainwashing. And I think asexuals, because we haven't got that focus on sexual attraction, we know there's more to the world than that. We know there's a lot more depth to relationships. And I think in a way that's why you probably find it harder sometimes, like the asexual dating scene as well, and dating scene in general, is because we know how difficult it is even to get an asexual match. We know how hard it is to match hobbies and interests and to get the same sort of attraction to each other. So we, on a fundamental core level, one night stands, which are gross. Yeah, I hate them. I've never had one of them. I have kissed a guy on a date and then not seen him again. You know, but for most likely because he wanted sex and I didn't want it, though. I think that was pretty much the case with the majority of them. But yeah, I couldn't do one night stands. I mean, all the sex I've had in the past has always been with a person I've been in a relationship with. I've never done that outside of relationship. I just don't like the idea of that. I don't even like the idea of sex as it is, but if I was to do it, it would be in a relationship, not outside of one. I'd never have it outside of a relationship. Do you know what I mean? I prefer kissing inside a relationship, really, but as I'm likely to be single for the next 5, 10 or whatever years of my life, I'm only really going to get kissing outside of a relationship, I think, for some time. So, you know, if I want to kiss, then I'll kiss. But I can only kiss certain people under certain circumstances anyway, you know. As you know, I can only kiss foreign guys, so that limits me. I can't kiss smokers. I mean, literally my chest, like, what is it, 6 or 7 weeks later is only just, like, healing up. Like, so I'm not coughing. Like, I'm just not coughing up stuff anymore. I still had a couple of coughs that I had to take medicine for this week. So, yeah. Anyway, I hope this has given you a bit of insight into the different, you know, like, sort of, you know, like way sexuals think and asexuals think. I hope that's given you some sort of insight and been useful video for you. Thanks, Heather. Yeah, so am I glad I'm a lot better. I was sick for so long. It's like, geez, do you know what I mean? It's like, I don't need to be sick anymore. So, yeah, so anyway, I just wanted to say that I love you being on this channel. Thank you, Heather. Thank you for Michael for your continued support. I am going to sign off now. I hope you've enjoyed tonight's video. If you have, please give it a thumbs up. I hope you found it useful, helpful, insightful, and I wish you a beautiful evening. If you think someone will benefit from this video, please share it with all your friends. And don't forget, if you're watching now and you want to subscribe to this channel, please hit the great big subscribe button now. Hit that bell icon so you get notified every time I go live like now or post a new video. Good night, Heather. Don't forget the thumbs up. I would love that because it does raise awareness of asexuality more and gets these videos up in the search engines. Thank you so much, and thank you, Michael. Thanks for the thumbs up. I really appreciate that. Until next time, embrace your quirky and each other's, and I will see you on the next video. Lots of love. Take care. Bye.